Good morning, everyone. Just a heads up, I'm just waiting a little bit, giving it a little bit more time for some people to join. And then once we get a few more viewers, we'll get started there on the pre-market watch list. So I'm going to give it about like 6 more minutes, and then we'll get started. All right, guys, I'm going to go ahead now and get started on the pre-market watch list. It looks like we have a few more people now that joined on the live stream. So let's go ahead and get started. So as you guys can see, my main watch is pretty much everything on the screen here. Watching a lot of the weed stocks that gapped up, Tilray, SNDL gapped up, ACB. So those are my top three weed stocks that I'm watching this morning. We also have a pretty decent gap here on AGRI. Really nice daily chart breakout on AGRI. You can see that basically that 516 level was a breakout level. And we got a really nice move beyond that so far. So I have AGRI on my main watch, CLVR, and a few others. There's not really too many new gappers to go over. A lot of these stocks we were watching yesterday, or the weed stocks. But besides that, there's not really any other small caps. But for now, I'm just going to quickly go over the watch list that I made last night. And then we can go over the rest of the gappers. If you guys have any other questions, we can go over those as well. But I'm going to go ahead and start off with my watch list. The first one on the watch list last night was Tilray. So let's take a look at this daily chart. So as you guys know, cannabis stocks surged because there's a federal marijuana legalization bill which heads to the House floor vote. So that's basically the reason why we're getting this gap up on a lot of these weed stocks. They're all really beaten down. You can see from this daily chart, just a really ugly chart. We did have this last run about a year ago on Tilray where we ran all the way to 65, and it's just been really downtrending from there. As you can see in pre-market, we topped out around that 850 level, and we have support at $8. So we're trading around this area right here. So you can say that $8 was a pretty big level. If this 8 can hold, there might be a chance for this to reverse and maybe push higher on these daily levels. But that is a level I would note. $8, basically all the whole numbers, 859, 950. 10 is a really big level on the daily. So for a lot of these weed stocks, I'm hoping we can hold this $8 support, and maybe we can set up for a higher low above 820 and break out through these highs. That's something I'm open to. If we just reject 820 and slam down and start to form lower highs, then I'm also open to the short. So I'm really open to both ways. I want to see how I want to see basically how the weed sector reacts after the open. But yeah, if we're holding 8, I'm definitely going to keep an open bias on Tilray and potentially look for setups. CGC is kind of the same concept. Let's take a look at this daily chart. So CGC, we topped out at 950 and pulled back to 860. So we're trading basically in this range right here, pulled back. So just like Tilray, CGC is the same thing, just really beaten down, really downtrending chart. We do have resistance towards 10, and we basically topped out around this 960 area. So those are kind of the levels I'm watching. I suppose if this 850 holds and we curl back up, we can keep an open bias on that. That 960 is still going to be a pretty big level on the daily on CGC. So what I'll do on this one is I'll probably just set a price alert towards 890s, like above VWAP, and we'll see if that reclaims later on. ACB, it's going to be the same thing basically with all the weed stocks. SNDL, this is a cheaper one, under $1. Bigger float, around a 1 billion float. So far we topped out around 93 cents. So maybe if you have a smaller account, this one might be a better one to trade out of those other ones just because it's on the cheaper side. Um, and for this one, we do have a lot of resistance towards 95, which we basically topped out at, towards $1, and then towards some of these bigger levels on the daily. So I'm basically going to be watching all of these weed stocks together towards the open. FLGC is another one. Flora Growth Corp. So this is another weed stock, pretty beaten down as well. This one actually has. Actually, this float is still pretty big. It's around 55 million on that one. But it has a nice gap on the daily chart. So if this one picks up volume, we can see the gap breakout is towards 230 and 270, and then we have this gap on the daily. So if something like this pops up on the scanners, I'm definitely going to keep that on watch with the other weed stocks. Kern was on my watch list. And then just moving on to the secondary list, I have a pretty big list of stocks from last night. So I'm not going to go over every single one, but I will go over the main ones. So AGRI was on the watch list as well. Like I said earlier, this one's set up for a really nice daily chart breakout. We had a few people in the private Discord room that called this out yesterday, anticipating this breakout on the daily chart. You can even see the trend line right here from the daily. So this had a really nice trend. We broke that upper trend line on AGRI, and then we got that explosive breakout move. And then today, we're actually getting continuation above that 520 level. So really nice breakout here towards 575. Let me just scroll back a little bit. We did have a big volume day right here, so there might be some resistance towards 6 and 7. A lot of volume was traded on that day, around 269 million. So that's definitely something I like to note. I always like to look back at the previous big volume days just to get an idea of where there could be some supply. So there's definitely some resistance in these levels. And we are getting pretty extended here on AGRI. If this were to break out a little bit higher, later on, if we get really extended, I'll probably look for a short on this one if we do get extended towards that previous candle, towards these levels. Other than that, though, I do want to be patient on this one. It is pretty strong this morning. I think right now, though, we might start to pull back towards VWAP or get a little correction. But for now, I have an open bias on it. So I'm going to wait on this one towards the open and kind of see how it reacts. I think it needs to pull back first and set up again. But that's definitely going to be a main watch for me, is that AGRI. AGMH kind of popped up yesterday. CELZ still having trouble with that 330 level from yesterday or a few days ago. And there's also a lot of kind of short bias stocks that were on my watch list that we've been watching over the last few days or last week or so. LLL, has a lot of resistance from that day 1 run. Now, day 3, there's all this resistance towards 5. So we might get another pop on that one. Definitely going to keep it on watch if it ends up popping up on the scanners. ALLG, this one now has a lot of bag holders above $18, $20. A lot of buyers, a lot of volume was traded in that area, and yesterday we had a big red day, so This is another one. I think all pops, any pop is probably going to get met with some sellers. So just something to keep on watch on the side for potential plays. Nrsn is another one. Probably a lot of bag holders on this one at this point in time. There was a lot of volume traded, towards 650 and 7. And now we're starting to really break these support levels. And we have all this room down here from 4 all the way to $3 potentially. So Nrsn, I think a lot of people forgot about that name. So that one could end up fading off as well. MULN, another good example. This had that blow off top day where we just had a huge sell off, traded sideways for a few days really, and now we're really starting to break these support levels and fade to the downside. So these ones are really good opportunities. A lot of people forget about them and they end up, fading for the next few days or so. But that is pretty much everything that I had off of my watch list for the private Discord room. So hopefully that kind of helps you guys out a little bit. I'm just going to go over the gappers now, but I think I pretty much went over all the main ones. Let's take a look at some of these gappers. So GNLN. This is another pretty ugly daily chart. A lot of resistance towards $1. $1.20, $1.60. So right now it doesn't look like there's a lot of volume trading. Let me check really quick. About 3 million. So for this one, for me, to be long biased on this, I'd probably want to see this 86 to 88 turn into support. If that kind of pops up, holds that as support, and starts to curl up, this might be something to watch. But I'm only going to be interested in this one if it does a lot of volume later. If not, I'll probably just avoid it. CLVR was the other gapper. I'm just going to check the filings on this one as well. Looks like an 18 million float. There is some potential dilution. They have an ATM. They also have a shelf with 31 million in remaining shelf value. So CLVR, this does have potential dilution. Really ugly daily chart as well. Just as you can see, a huge downtrend. So any big spike on this, if this were to run up today, I would be very interested in the short. Ideally towards some of these bigger levels, towards like $3 or higher ideally, but I don't know if that's going to happen. It already kind of topped out towards 250. So for this one, for longs, I would say 220 is kind of the key level. If that were to hold as support above VWAP and we get a lot of volume, I'll still keep an open bias on this one to see if it wants to break out. And then, if it does break out and get extended later, I'll be very interested in the short. When it comes to these levels down here towards $2, I'm not really that crazy about the short. Sure, it could, fail here and fade down to 180 or 170, but to short it here, the risk to reward for me just isn't worth it really for me. So I would just hope that this one spikes up later and then can set up that way, but we'll give that one some time. I'm just going to set a price alert there on CLVR. see if there's any other gappers I haven't gone over. I went over Tilray so far. We did hold $8 on that dip. AGRI held its dip as well. It's still trying to push higher. Let's go to a weekly really quick. Weekly chart. So yeah, these are really the only levels I'm seeing of resistance are these last spikes towards 6 and 7. Other than that, there's not really too much to go off of on the daily chart on AGRI. There's probably a lot of short sellers stuck from this range that didn't cover, and they're all getting pretty much blown out of their positions here. So the higher the better on AGRI. Really nice move so far. Alright, so I pretty much covered everything. There wasn't really too much to go over. Basically, it's just going to be the weed stocks, AGRI, and a few other stocks. And I'm also going to be watching the scanner very closely this morning. So if anything pops up on the scanner that I'm interested in, I'll be sure to let you all know. But yeah, we still have about 15 minutes until the market opens. I hope that helps you guys out a little bit to prepare for the open. If you guys have any questions, just let me know in the chat, and I will get to you guys as soon as possible. I'm going to kick back for a minute, and then I will be back once the market opens, and we can see, if anything else pops up on the scans. And I'll be sure to keep you guys updated. Alright guys, so we have SPRC on the scan. We can add that to the watch list. It's actually halted to the upside. SPRC. It looks like it's an IPO. There's not really any daily history on it. The highs are 705. So far, pretty nice hold of that $8 area on Tilray. So pretty ugly rejection on Tilray of those pre-market highs towards 830, slammed right under $8. So I'd be really cautious on that one at this point. SPRC is still halted to the upside. Let me check when that unhalts. Should unhalt in about 2 minutes. And then AGRI, really nice push towards 6 so far. We're still definitely on the front side of this move on AGRI. So SPRC is still halted. It looks like it might open in 1 minute if this is a 10-minute halt. So let's see what happens. AGRI, as you guys can see, rejected 6, and it's trying to kind of form a lower high here. So if this bounce kind of fails and turns into a lower high, we might see this flush under this 560 level. So I would be cautious on that one at the moment. But I still want to give it some time, because if this were to hold this support and pop over 580 and hold 580 again, I think there's still a chance that this could break out even higher. So I want to see how this sets up. If it pops and rejects 590 and then breaks support, you could look for a flush, or if 580 holds, I'll keep an open bias. There's SPRC finally open from the halts. We got a few things popping on the scanners as well, a few other stocks. There's actually no shares to short on SPRC at the moment, at least with my broker. Probably because it's an IPO. And it looks like we might get a halt down there on SPRC. So AGRI is still trying to hold that 560 support, at least for now. IGC, so it's been a long time since I've seen this name, I feel like. But IGC is actually a previous runner. In the weed sector, you can see some of these spikes that we've had in the past on the daily chart. A lot of resistance though at this point, especially towards 120, 140. But we'll see if that one spikes up. Tilray is bouncing back towards that $8 level. LEDS is on the scans as well. That's a good one to watch. LEDS. This is also a former runner. We got some resistance towards 4 and 450 on the daily chart. Also, nice spike there on AMC. If this 2050 area can turn into support, we might even get some more upside on that one. AGRIs broke that 560 level. Alright guys, I am going to go ahead and end the YouTube screen share for now, and I'm just going to be in the private Discord. Hopefully you guys, or hopefully that kind of helped you guys prepare for the morning in the open. I'm still kind of waiting for some things to set up. AGRI is flushing here as well. Well, yeah, just stay tuned. I do plan on doing these videos more often in pre-market to help you guys prepare. And if you enjoy the commentary and you want more watch lists and things like that, you can check out the link in the description. We have the links for our website if you guys want to join the Discord. And yeah, if you guys have any questions, we do also have a public Discord you can join where you can ask questions in there as well.